Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is May 1st, and right now we are looking at the infrared satellite imagery. You'll notice we've got some cold air cumulus, and we've got the next trough out here over the Gulf of Alaska, but of course downstream of that, dominating our weather here for the next day or so, is a big ridge of high pressure and nice weather, lots of clear skies out there, and we'll take a look at what is to come with this weak frontal system as we go on in through this weekend, and what is to come next week as well, and we'll look at the extended forecast as always. So looking at the mid-level water vapor, you can kind of see that clockwise rotation as I toggle back and forth this morning again, and that rotation is here. There's the ridge of high pressure and the weak frontal system slowly approaching. Now looking at visible satellite imagery, you can see much of the region here is cloud-free. It's hard to find a cloud really across Pacific Northwest, maybe a little bit of fog in some of the river valleys out there and maybe some of the coastal range there on the Oregon coast. But what you're looking at here is some of the snow-capped mountains on the GOES 18 satellite imagery. There's Mount Baker, Mount Rainier, there's Mount Hood, you see the Rocky Mountains out there as well. And over the last 24 hours, no lightning strikes to speak of here. BC, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, you got to go way off across central portions of Montana before you get any of that activity, or down across California. And if you want to send me interesting weather photos, go ahead and do so on the community page here on the Patreon page. The link is down below. It's a good way to support the channel as well. And just a reminder here, I clicked on this one here at SeaTac, Departures Drive. This is a Tempest weather station. You can get one of those by clicking on the link below and save 10% off. But just a reminder that we are fairly, the sun is fairly strong at this time of the year, and you can see the UV index already bumping up a bit here. And if we look towards yesterday, you can see that it was pretty strong. I mean, the UV index punching up over 5 and towards 6. Just kind of a reminder out there. Even though this is the Pacific Northwest, the sun can still, give you problems there if you're out unprotected in it. And there's another station as well. So taking a look here at the European, this is that ridge of high pressure we just saw on the infrared satellite imagery. There's our next trough. We're looking at 18,000 feet. And of course, it shows these ridges and troughs, general position of them. We put that into motion. You see, as we go through the day today, it's sliding off to the east. The next frontal system starts to approach. And as we go through tomorrow night, we may spawn some thunderstorms as we go through the afternoon hours across Oregon up towards Washington Cascades. We're going to go over that here in a moment. And then the weak frontal system starts to push in on Saturday. It's not a big precipitation maker, and a lot of that energy is moving down into California. Then you can see the next ridge out there starting to impinge on the area as we go through the later portion of the weekend and on in through next week, probably warming up a bit again here as well. And you can kind of see the next trough out over the Gulf of Alaska as we start to head off into the mid portion of next week. You can kind of see the trough across the southwest USA as well. Now, 500 millibar heights, this is the wind speed there at 18,000 feet, and you can clearly see the clockwise rotation of the wind. That is that ridge of high pressure, and you can kind of see it slowly meander off to the east as we go through the very early morning hours of tomorrow, and then we start to scroll on in towards Friday. You see the ridge start to push off to the east, and the next frontal system, the winds aloft start to increase, and we start to push that frontal system in here. And again, as we go through Friday night, Oregon Cascades, Washington Cascades, east slopes, lightning and thunderstorm potential will be evident. And if we take a look at the European model, it's going to be dry until about the Friday afternoon, and there it goes. It starts across the Oregon Cascades first, starts to spread north across the Washington Cascades, and you see a lot of the precipitation happening across the Cascades or on the eastern slopes there. Not a lot here for Seattle or Portland, even though they get the drib and drab of some of that precipitation as we go through the day on Saturday. That frontal system slides in towards the Intermountain West. You can kind of see that trough across the southeast portion, and you can see some snowfall, some meaningful snowfall for the higher terrain of the Rocky Mountains of Montana and on into Yellowstone as we go through the early portion of next week as well. And then we're going to have another frontal system move into western BC, but it is weak. It's losing its punch as we go through Tuesday into Wednesday here, shown right there. And that's where the end of the European model last night ends at 144 hours. But lightning flash density potential. So I'm going to scroll through this today. Of course, nothing here across Pacific Northwest. But as we go on into the day Friday, watch this across the Oregon Cascades. See that activity starting to push up there. And then you can see some of those storms moving up the Washington Cascades there as well. So yeah, east slopes of the Cascades, watch out. Maybe Ellensburg, you're talking about Bend, Oregon, maybe some of the higher terrain of the Cascades. And again, that is tomorrow afternoon and evening and on into the nighttime hours as we go towards Saturday morning. And if we look at the North American model, composite reflectivity, this is the Doppler radar may look like here over the next 60 hours. We're now scrolling on into Friday morning, and as we go on through the day Friday, there we go. We start to punch some of these thunderstorms across the region here on the day Friday. And as we go through the afternoon and evening hours, you see those moving up across the Cascades there. Again, those could have lightning strikes associated with them. And you can see just kind of hit and miss, very brief showers as we go through Friday night and into Saturday morning. You can see a little bit of light rain out there. It's not going to amount to much, but it'll keep the clouds around and kind of cool things down as we go through the day on Saturday. So daily max 2-meter temperature for today, Thursday, May 1st. Look at Seattle, mid-70s out there, some low 80s for Portland. And as you get down towards Rogue Valley, you're talking about 80-degree readings in eastern Washington as well. Look at the interior of British Columbia warming up quite nicely underneath this ridge. As we go through tomorrow, one more fairly warm day across much of the region. I mean, look at eastern Washington. You're talking about temperatures into the mid and upper 80s potentially in the Columbia Basin there. And then Saturday, the cool down comes. So notice the temperatures drop down towards 70 for eastern Washington. But look at Seattle, only topping out at 58 degrees, some low 60s there for Portland. And then we go to Sunday, we start to build another ridge back in there. And we start to warm back up yet again. Look at Tuesday, May 6th, 75 degrees for Seattle and maybe some more 80s for portions of eastern Washington and Oregon. And we go through Wednesday, Thursday, and we start to see, maybe that next trough will start to come in on the area, but you see it, the temperatures really don't drop back down too much. Now, there's another way to look at those national blended models. This is Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, so you can kind of see that Saturday cool down there, then the bump back as we go through next week as well. So you can kind of see the overnight lows on this one also. This is for Spokane. You can see today, tomorrow, Friday, 80 degrees. Then we get that frontal system moving through. Then we bounce back as we go through the following week. There's Portland, something similar as well, possible 80-degree plus here today. And then Saturday, look at that 20-degree drop for Portland. And then we bounce back here as we go on in towards next week. Something similar here for Boise and for Bend Municipal Airport there down in Oregon. Look at that drop off on Saturday before we bounce back again. Now looking at the extended forecast, this is the European Artificial Intelligence. It goes out about 15 days. There's that ridge of high pressure. There's our next frontal system. And again, a lot of that energy moving down into California. Then we bring that next ridge as we go through next week. And then we start to bring another trough here. And it looks like a system maybe midweek trying to hit into western British Columbia. It's not much of a frontal system, but we'll watch that one. And then you can see the ridge building as we go through the extended forecast. This would really bring a warm up here across Pacific Northwest, although it is quite a ways out in the forecast. You're looking 7, 8, 9 days out into the forecast. And then another system tries to approach Pacific Northwest, but way off into the future there. And we'll worry about that in the upcoming days. So we are starting to warm up here this time of year. I mean, it's May now, so yeah, we're starting to get some of these more enjoyable temperatures. And when we do get these nice periods of weather, of course, you get up into the 70s and for some portion into the 80-degree readings at this time of year. Now, looking at the artificial intelligence model, this is over the next 15 days. You can clearly see the signal still for the Pacific Northwest is of below normal precipitation amounts. This goes all the way out through May 15th. Now, 6 to 10 day, you can kind of see that above average signal there for the Pacific Northwest, and there's a 6 to 10 day kind of near normal, a little bit above normal. We'll see how that goes. And then we've got the U.S. drought monitor. So what happened here, this new update here today, they have introduced some abnormally dry here for western Oregon. Still drought free for the state, but they've also kind of scaled back a little bit of the drought for some of the North Cascades, and they've still left it up for a lot of the Cascades still of Washington, but they did scale it back a bit, and they expanded the abnormally dry. It looks like they changed a little bit of this activity across portions of Idaho as well. But average temperature here since January 1st, let me update that. It goes through April 29th. And again, kind of a mixed bag here, right around average if you were to average everything out. It looks like as far as temperature is concerned. And what else? Click like and subscribe. We'll do this all again tomorrow. And again, watch out for that thunderstorm threat starting across the Oregon Cascades, moving up through the afternoon and evening hours in towards the Washington Cascades. We'll have one more day to look at that tomorrow, and we'll be sure to do so. I'll be doing my normal briefings tomorrow, and I hope you guys are having a good day otherwise, and I will talk to you guys later.